Friday, May 14th, Fireside Chats Without the Fires. This is Season 2, Episode 3. I am co-host Neal Toff, joined by co-host extraordinaire Paul Catherall. It is a brilliant Friday to be together with you. Brilliant why? Well, first of all, Paul, you are what, as you do on every Friday? What is Friday today and why is it special for you? What are you doing right now?
Right now, I'm buzzing. It's Fireside Chats Friday. What is there not to be happy about? Tell me.
Exactly. It wouldn't be a Friday on Fireside Chats Without the Fires without Paul buzzing. And I got to tell you, I'm buzzing too because we have an amazing guest today. Not just an amazing guest, but we're going to do something that goes beyond just amazing. We are going to ride through a storm. And I picked the word storm very deliberately. Why, you ask? Because we have guest extraordinaire, Francesca Tempestini. And if anyone speaks a Romance language, if you've studied Latin, if you speak Spanish, if you speak Italian, if you speak maybe French, and maybe some others, you will know that the root in Francesca's last name has to do with storm or speed, if I'm not mistaken. And what we're going to do today is introduce speed, and we're going to shake some things up and create a lot of energy. And we're going to discuss a topic that is relevant for all of us in the CX world. The title of today's session, before we introduce Francesca in just a second, hang on to your hats, we're getting there. The title of today's session, 4 tools to successful EX. I didn't say CX, I said EX. Now you're going to say, wait a minute, but this is a CX podcast. This is about customer experience. And the answer would be, you're damn right, this is about CX. And very deliberately, we are choosing the topic of EX, employee experience. We're going to get into it in just a second. Francesca Tempestini, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Fireside Chats Without the Fires. Please tell us about yourself. Tell us about your storm that you're about to unleash upon us.
Hello, Neil. Hello, Paul. That's the best introduction I ever had. And yes, I am a little storm, if you want. And I plan to be a storm in the EX and CX universe as well. So I am an expert manager at the moment. I'm not in a CX position, but actually not officially, but I am actually bringing CX and EX in my job anyhow. And before that, I have been a cast member in Disneyland Paris, and that's where I actually learned the keys of customer experience and employee experience.
Sensational. So one of the many reasons why we wanted to share today with you is that in addition to your background, which I'll summarize in just a second, Francesca is a contributing author to the Customer Experience 3 book that has just been recently published. And if you've been listening to Fireside Chats Without the Fires, we have begun to interview many of the authors, the contributing authors to that book. Francesca has a chapter in that book called Disney Employee Experience, Tangible Examples of How to Engage Employees. And here's my favorite part of the title, Tangible Examples of How to Engage Employees and Why You Should. I love that part of the chapter. We're going to get into that in just a second. We're, of course, going to talk about employee experience. And Francesca, to have you today in our podcast is just a true pleasure for us. Audience, if you're not following Francesca already on LinkedIn and Twitter, please do so. She is the export manager for a company called Faraone in Tortoreto, Italy. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I think I did. I think I sufficiently rolled my R's. Tortoreto, Italy.
You did.
And a great part of Francesca's background is that she spent over 5 years working at Disneyland Paris. She had multiple roles there. And one of the cool things that you see on her LinkedIn profile is that she is an enthusiastic disseminator of the Disney approach. That Disney with capital D, approach capital A, the Disney approach. Yes, that is a thing. And that's what we're going to also jump into. So Francesca, again, welcome. We're so pleased to have you with us. Let's jump right into the heart of the matter here. I love what you do in your book, which is you take something that is actually not so simple and you define it. You define for us what employee experience means. And I'm going to quote from your chapter: the sum of all interactions an employee has with their employer during the duration of their working relationship. A sentence later, you say, happy employees means happy customers. We have a working definition and the reason of why the heck this matters, why this is so important. And I really appreciate that. I think you did us all a favor by trying to take something complex and define it. So now we have a working definition of what employee experience is. What I love is that you take 4 important concepts, tools, and you also not only lay them out for us as theory, but you give us examples of what these are and why they're important. The first one is set rules. Second is provide tools. By the way, those rhyme, right? Set rules, number 1. Number 2, provide tools. Number 3, lead by example. And number 4, reward. Could you walk us through each of these? Tell us a little bit about them and give us some examples in your experience of why these things are important.
Absolutely. Well, my intention in this book was to, in this chapter, was to provide ideas of how to make a work environment a little bit magic, even though we're not talking about entertainment, we're not talking about a company that works in leisure, but any standard small or medium company that makes whatever can actually add a little bit of magic using the tools of customer experience and employee experience. So I thought, okay, let's take examples from what I've seen in Disney, what I lived myself on my skin, and see what I see that misses in non-magical companies sometimes. So I thought that one of the first things that need to be used whenever we want to have some magic, and create good experiences for employees and customers is our rules. So what games are we playing? What do we have to do? Why are we here? Who we are? Who are we? And just decide that everyone to give inputs that everyone has to be on the same line, on the same level, and we all know what this is about. I believe that you cannot have any nothing positive. There's no possibility to have a nice environment if there's no transparency of what we're doing. So setting the rules is the first thing that has to be done, and this it does it very, very well. I know it's not the only company that makes it today, fortunately. But it gave me a good impression when I arrived 9 years ago in Disney, and the first 2 days we spent it doing something that in Disney's language is called traditions. So we were sat there, and a facilitator would explain. Not only we'll go through the history of the Walt Disney Company and talk about Walt Disney itself and all this and all the important aspect of history of how it's worked, but it will actually tell us what the company would expect from us, what are the values, the mission of the company, and what can we expect from the company as well. So the rules were set right from the beginning. We were talking not only about dressing code and the kind of shoes we had to wear, because sometimes it went very specific. But really, it was a behavioral lesson that I received right away. And I love the fact that this training would go on for the 5 years that I was there. It is true that I was picked for a very specific and peculiar training that was specific to Disneyland Paris. I got 200 hours of training in 15 months, over 15 months together with practice. And I got trained in different jobs in the park. But whenever I walked into a new position or a new location, I was trained. First thing, I was welcomed, and then I was trained. So they gave us the tools, which will be the second thing that we will talk about. But they give us right away the ideas of what we were supposed to do and not to do, which is fantastic, because you don't lose time, you don't make mistake, or you make less mistakes. You avoid a lot of complications that can come from not know exactly what you're doing there.
So people actually pay attention to stuff. I remember early in my career sitting in a classroom or a room and having someone from the human resources group come in and talk to us about rules and the values and the this and the mission and the statement. And I remember, I think, not paying attention, saying to myself, oh my God, I just want to do this. And you asked me at the end of the class or the end of the course or whatever it was, I probably didn't mean much of anything. I was probably thinking, is it lunchtime? Please, I want to get to starting my job and start a paycheck. So people really, this was impactful for you in your experience. You paid attention to this.
Yes, because it was the way in which all of this was told us. It was not a list of, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you have to do this. Absolutely not. They actually bought us. I mean, I was there and I was a customer for 2 days. I was actually going to buy this, so I embraced the philosophy. So when I remember that when I arrived, I was not a fan. I was not really. I like the movies, okay, but 5 years later, I was a brand ambassador, even though not the official one. But I was really into it because I understood that way of working, to me, is the only way of working possible that you can have if you want to have happy employees, happy customers, and a nice working environment. So yes, I actually embraced, and they have been able to talk to the heart, not just spread words.
Perfect. So that's set rules. What about the second one? Provide tools. Help define that a little bit and maybe give us an example.
Yeah, well, as I said, as I mentioned, I worked in different departments, and whenever I moved, switched place, after the very welcome that I received, I was given the tools, the practical tools to work there. So whether I was going to be there for 3 months or 5 months or 1 day, I knew exactly. Someone would actually come close to me and say, "Okay, you need to know this, this, this," and then gave me all the collaterals, like the nearest toilets are over there, and the security access is over there. So an overview, a quick overview of everything that I had to know, and that was for the jobs in which I was there for a day. And in the other department, everywhere, whenever I was doing something, if I was doing a mistake, someone will come across and say, "Okay, is this the first time you do this?" "Yes." "Well, that's not the correct way. We actually do like this," and he would explain. So not only leaders, but all cast members, because they receive the same treatment, they are entitled and they feel the need and they feel the mission to inform you of what are the tools that you have to have. So you're not alone. Basically, this means that you do not feel alone. When I land in a place and I know no one and I'm going to be there just for 5 hours, I don't have to worry, because I know that if I make a mistake, they're going to be there for me. And this is something that makes you relieved.
I love in this discussion in your chapter, there's a second part of it around tools, which is you share an experience, and this is so interesting within Disney, because you talk so highly about Disney, but you refer to a moment in your beginning of your position there where you asked to perform a certain set of tasks and you felt you were not yet prepared and you're not doing a good job and you're not comfortable. And you went to your supervisor and shared that. Yeah. As a result of that, so it feels to me that you had the emotional intelligence to express it, but they weren't asking you yet. You took the initiative to go and tell them, "I'm not ready yet." But what they did and how they responded was they gave you the additional tools. They prepared you even more, so that when you completed the training, the additional training, you were that much more prepared to perform your job that much more completely.
Absolutely. The company culture in Disney is like that. You are not afraid to talk. You're not afraid to speak up. And of course, you have to do it in a proper way, but then you have to have a reason for it. But it's not because you are the last arrived or because you're just there for a day that you have to embrace and shut up. Absolutely not. So especially in that position in which I knew that I was not able to do something, and I was feeling ashamed of that because it's my character, first of all, and then because I thought, okay, but they're sending me to help in a facility, and I, instead of helping, I'm actually making mistakes, and of course they will think that they send them the very last person available, which was true in the case, but so no, that was not right. And because of the sense of belonging and of pride that I had in every team that I worked with, I didn't want that new team to be referred as a team that sent unprepared people around. So yeah, well, it's everything actually comes around because uh, maybe they realized they made a mistake and they didn't have any option. Whatever reason they had, they share with me as well. We arrived to a compromise, and then we passed on. We moved on, and I thought this was very intelligent to do for everyone.
Thank you. The third tool that you talk about is lead by example. Same question. Talk a little bit about that. Maybe give an example of how leading by example is so important around employee experience.
Lead by example is another way in which you feel everyone belongs to the same place and you're all on the same mission, and you're not just the executor, but leaders are with you, and leaders are not in front of you, but they actually behind, they support, they're more seen like coaches, if you want. Meaning that they prepare you. And how do they do that? Showing you how to do things, giving examples. So one thing that I remember, and I'm still in contact with these people, seeing my senior manager walking in the park and picking up the trash. So picking up the trash is not something considered low level or just for a specific team, but it's a duty of everyone. Keep your place clean. And I remember that I naturally did the same thing when I switched job and I went outside in another facility, in a non-Disney environment, and they would just look at me and say, "What are you doing? Leave the trash there." And no, the trash is not supposed to be there. So why do we have to be 8 hours in a place which doesn't feel proper just because we cannot move this and put it in another place? But this natural thing sometimes are not, someone have to show you. You, as a human beings, we adapt to the situation that we see around us. So maybe some, because of what they lived before, they can have a different approach. But other people would just sit and look what others do and repeat it. So I think it's our duty to give the example. And this is what my supervisors did, and I embrace, and I like to do it now.
Super. The fourth and final tool is reward. And when we hear or see the word reward, many of us are probably thinking, oh my God, you mean we got to pay more money, we got to give bonuses, we have to increase salary, how much is this going to cost? But you go into it, you take a different angle. Talk to us about reward.
What I cherish most of under this point of view of my Disney experience are the little thank you notes that my supervisor will leave me whenever they received a notification that a guest, a customer, had left a note thanking me for something that I did, or just making sure that everyone knew that in that particular situation I was very helpful. So customer would tell the direction, the direction will tell my supervisor, and they will send me these cards, and handwritten, and then they will stop me and they will pat me on the shoulders, but with meaning, just not because by the way, thank you. No. It was really something meaningful, and so meaningful that after, I don't remember how many, they would actually make a gathering and throw a party for all the cast members that received a certain number of thank you from guests. And sometimes that's a good starting point, because it's not everything about money, but it's really what we want to do is see that what we do it fine. It's like in a family, all right? You want your kids to know that they're doing okay, and they want to know it. They want to be reassured that they are making you happy as a parent. So in a work relation is the same, because this is basically what human beings are. We need attention in a way or another. So the fact of recognizing whatever a person does good, that's something that again gives you sense of belonging and purpose and makes you be a little bit happier at work.
Love it. Perfect. This is great. So those are the 4 tools to successful employee experience. By the way, buy the book, read the chapter, because there's a lot more in this chapter. We're just doing a very, very quick surface level review of it. Once again, set rules, provide tools, lead by example, and reward. I have a final question for you that I've been dying to ask. I think that as we talk about employee experience, inevitably at some point we, in our minds, go to the Department of Human Resources, which most companies have some version of. They have a human resources leader. The big company may be a small army of people, human resources specialist, a manager, a senior manager, a director, a vice president, and some organizations may even have a chief talent officer or chief people officer or things like that. In my perspective, as I talk to people that work in large companies, and as I talk to people that are looking for jobs, oftentimes the comment is that the human resources department, so many companies, is the weakest link. And some people use adjectives to describe it in an even worse condition, that they call them the devil, the worst department ever, the problem. How do you feel about that? And I want to ask you a second part of the question. Is human resources as a department, or is the leader of human resources, is the human resource function the guardian, the leader, the savior of employee experience, or is it really something that's much larger than just a human resource leader or department? I'm curious to know your take on that.
I think human resources in any company doesn't walk by themselves. They do what they are told to, or at least the input and the insights and the direction that they have to follow, it's given by the direction. They cannot wake up one day and go totally different in opposite direction of what the manager decided. So because yes, they have a key role, but all roles are key roles in the company. Even production or everyone has their own tasks. So if human resources are not hiring the right people, maybe it's a problem of culture, maybe it's of company culture. I mean, maybe problems are different. It's not necessarily because they are not qualified. It might be that someone in logistics is not qualified or wherever, but I believe it comes from higher. Customer experience and employee experience it's not a department, it's not just a person, it's a set of mind. It's really a different look on the company. So I can do that. I mean, I do not really employee experience, but customer experience. And I'm they don't have this position in my company, but it's how I establish relation with the others, how I respond to my customers, and even the kind of feedback that I give to my direction and the kind of changes that I want direction to do. Customer experience is an awareness. So once in every company, whatever position you have, once you know what you think would be the nice way of doing something, you should spread the word. So human resources as well. Of course, if human resources hire the wrong people, that's dreadful. Yes, but can they really hire the wrong people without everyone noticing? Because I think they can do it once, twice, but at a certain moment, someone else will say, "Hey, wait, why are you sending us all these kind of these people which are not actually online with what you were looking for?" Or have you noticed that they are just the last employees that you hired did not fit? I don't think it's, we work together. People working in customer experience and working in human resources, they can really share together. But my dream will be a company which you don't even have to have a customer experience department, because as I said, it's not a department. So once you arrive at that point in which it's not even necessary to have a person in charge of controlling that, you work in that direction, well, that will be really El Dorado. And I think everything comes from education, for training, even self-training. Today, you don't have a specific training in the customer experience and employee experience. But with the tools that we have today, it is very easy to start reading and following people, and I have a list of them, and just becoming aware that you might do things differently at every level that you are.
Excellent. I would love for the human resources professionals that are listening to this, or those that are closely tied into employee experience in our audience, give us some feedback here. When you listen to this, email us, tweet us, LinkedIn, message us, share some feedback, because this is a powerful topic. It affects all of us. I don't think there's any one correct answer or path to pursue here. Maybe it's a little controversial. I would love to hear your feedback, because this is a great stepping stone into a large, important conversation. And Francesca, thank you for sharing the thoughts on that. We want to ask you a set of questions that we'd like to ask all of our guests as we go into the final third of the podcast. The first thing we want to ask you is, take a CX myth and bust it. Something that is commonly believed in, something that most people would say, oh, this is true or fact. Take one of those things and disagree with it. What would your CX myth be?
Let's say, the fact that, as I said, the customer experience is something that that has to come from the top to the bottom. That's the ideal, of course, because you use the spilling effect, you use the cascade effect, but that's not the only way, because as I said, once you are aware and once you start working at the base, and if you are contagious in what you do, and if people start noticing the difference of doing something, having in your heart, in the company heart, people, customers and employees, then you make a difference. It's like if you walk in a room and everyone is like sad, and you start dancing, you will seem full, yes, but you will have some smiles or something. You need to you really can make a difference. We all can make a difference in whatever we do. We just have to want it to meaning and to be meaningful. So, and I say that this because I've seen it. This is what I'm actually doing. So I see it working, and I've talked to people in other companies, and as well, it is a movement that does not necessarily have to start from the top. Of course, it's easier.
Thank you. That's excellent. We had previously asked you to share 2 CX quotes that mean something to you. And I have them in front of me if you'd like me to read them.
Yes, please.
Or if you have them in front, that's also 2. Would you like to share the 2, or would you like to share them?
No. Go ahead, Neal.
Okay. So we had previously asked Francesca, and here's her quote. By the way, you won't be surprised with the source of the first one. Of course, it's from Walt Disney, which is such an important source of inspiration for Francesca. And here's the quote. You, by the way, she put this in bold. I really like it. You can design and create and build the most wonderful places in the world, but it takes people to make the dream a reality. I think this ties in perfectly to your message, what you're telling us about employee experience, right?
Absolutely. In fact, the first time I read this sentence, it was in Main Street, USA, which is not a place in the States, but it's or maybe it's 2 places in the States. That's the first land when you enter any Disneyland park. And in the main street, you have a lot of shops. If maybe it might happen that someone never went there, you have shops that comes from the early 1900s in this town, Marceline, Missouri, which was Walt Disney hometown. And one of the shops has this window. It's a cast agency window, which is a tribute to cast members, the future and past and present cast members. And so it has this quote there. So when I first read it, I thought it was related to the park, to the employees, and I thought it was nice to have this memory for them. But with the time passing and with me going away and starting to learn about CX in AX, I thought, oh, no, this actually can be used and can be related to all companies and everywhere. Because it is true that you can have the best product in the world, you can have absolutely the even the monopoly of something, but you're not going to go far if you do not recognize and if you do not have the right people. So this is why I think that this sentence is very appropriate with customer experience and employee experience.
Quite interesting. You made me think. They placed a physical location for employees on Main Street.
It's just a win. It's just okay. I cannot talk about this. I don't feel comfortable saying that. It's a window. Okay, as you have the barber shop and as you have the emporium, you have another door which is a cast agency. We don't go there for casting. We go outside the park. But also it's just it's a facade, if you want. I'm telling too many secrets. Disney police is coming to pick me up. I know that. And so it's just as you have the windows, you have the windows on Main Streets with the names of people of legend, Disney legends that did something specific in the park. You have Attention, you have Roy Disney. So those just are memories of people that worked in the park, and you have them in the doors as well. So that's something to remember all cast members around the world.
Wonderful. There's a second quote that I'm going to share, and if it's okay, should I read it or would you like to read it? I can read it if you would like.
Go ahead. I don't have it here.
Okay, so it's from Lee Cockerell from The Customer Rules, and here's the quote.
Oh yeah.
Customer service is a team sport. Make your fellow employees feel included, just like mom encouraged you to do for the other kids on the playground. What a powerful statement. Not an individual sport. It's not playing tennis. It's not, maybe it's not golf. It's a team sport, and you're just one part of the team, correct?
But even if we consider tennis, the player is not alone there. I mean, he needs a trainer. He needs a person to make massage. So he has a plethora of people around that work with him and they help him reach the goal. So actually, even in those kinds of sports, you always have people around. So, but it is true that when I read this, I will think more of a volleyball, for instance, in which you set spike all together. So yes, this is a fantastic quote of Lee Cockerell, which is really one of my source of inspiration, because he sets the guidelines for the training of all the leaders in Disneyland, and those guidelines are today used for the Disney Institute to train and to give all the courses that they give for companies coming from all over the world in working in their own sector. So this means that they are really transversal. And I like the reference to mom, because in that book, one of the rules, actually it's another book in 39 Rules of Customer. He talks about do what your mom, something like do what your mom would like you to do, or what would your mom say? Here it is. What would your mom say? So whenever you have to take a decision, whenever you have to think about something, think about mom. And I think it's a fantastic quote, which works for customer experience, because you don't want to be indecent, you don't want to be unpolite, you want to be neat, clear, transparent. So really, the mom rules works very well.
Thank you for that. Let's go into the final third of the final third here. Last question. Your CX heroes. Do you have them top of mind, or I know what you shared with us? I can read them, but I would love if you could share a couple of your CX heroes with us.
I have, yes. Well, I have a couple which are the two that are pushing me, and especially one is the very first that believed in me and hosted me in my very first podcast. His name is Gregorio Uglioni, and he's a CX leader as well, and he's one of the author of the book. And we met on LinkedIn or in real person way before the book, and we inspire each other, and we kept referring to each other for advices and ideas and points of view. And this is something that I like of the CX community, because I found this and I saw this camaraderie in a lot of people from all over the world, which I never met physically, but actually I call them friends. Another one is Gustavo, which is going to be your host as well, Gustavo Himnov. And he is another of my leaders, because everything he posts and his piercing views on customer experience related matters are really, really interesting, because he likes to give new perspective and to tackle a little bit and to debunk ideas. And I like that, because it pushes you to see things differently. And I think this is what the industry needs, actually. What customer experience is about is trying to do things in another way. So I think he really embraces the philosophy. And then I have Cockerell, of course. I'm loving all these books, and I'm actually reading 2 at a time now, because I couldn't decide which one to pick first. And he's inspiring, because I see that everything, all the it went through in Disneyland, and it then transformed in guidelines for any company. It talks to me. Everything it writes about, I understand it fully, and I'm there. I was trying to underline his books, and then I said, oh, forget it, because it's pointless, because I'm actually underlining every page, so it doesn't really make sense. But it's a really, and it has a nice podcast. I'm mistaken today, postcards with podcast, in which he spreads this fields of information, which are really, really thoughtful and useful. Then I have Annette Franz. How can you not talk about Annette Franz? Annette, she's one of the first I've heard and I've listened to last year in a seminar called Xperia, which lasted for a week. And she's like my Wikipedia for customer experience related problems, because whenever I have a doubt or I wanted to read something more about a specific topic, I know that I can find it on CX Journey. She wrote, I don't know, many pieces, and she has the answer for everything, and I really like that. And who do I have more? I have an Italian, which I didn't tell you before. Her name is Francesca Tempestini. She's the first CX leader, expert that I related to the Italian market that I've ever known. So I'm really following the UK and New American community, but for what concerns the Italian one, I always go, and even for keywords in Italian, because sometimes I forget them, I go look at her information, because she's amazing.
And there's one more. You can't get one of the authoritarians and experts in emotional intelligence. You talked about the UK market.
Absolutely, Sandra Thompson. Oh no.
Did we lose Francesca, Neil?
No, I lose Francesca for just a second, but she was mentioning Sandra Thompson.
Yeah,
I think as her final CX hero of the week. So she has a great list here. By the way, what a tribute to many that have already been guests of ours on Fireside Chats Without Fires, and future guests. So past guests, Annette Franz,
yeah,
Sandra Thompson,
yeah,
future guests, Gustavo Imhoff,
Yeah.
And Gregorio, we have scheduling. We're going to be getting Gregorio scheduled, which will be amazing. Gregorio Uglioni.
Yeah.
He's the CX goalkeeper. And then Lee Cockerell, who's an author and a thought leader. We hope we get Francesca back here. We might have just a small internet issue. In case we don't get her back, Paul, I would love if she were with us, but what a storm. Employee experience storm. How do you wrap that up? That's just learn a lot of passion came out of this.
Yeah, a lot of passion. Clearly knows the steps or the tools, I should say, that's needed to create. Oh, and she's back. There she is.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
The power went off, so I'm calling with mobile now.
The good thing is we have you back. We hear you and crystal clear. Francesca, we were just saying that the CX list, the CX hero list that you shared includes some past guests, Annette Franz and Sandra Thompson, and some future guests in Gustavo and Gregorio, which is great. We really thank you for sharing that. We were trying to wrap up quickly. We're trying to wrap up this session. This storm, we talked about the theme of storm. You have some incredible passion, knowledge, experience, and personal experience in employee experience and the importance of it. And we're very grateful to have you. Thank you so much for sharing it and your wisdom that you offer us in your chapter of the books, Customer Experience 3. It's just valuable for our community. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I had asked Paul, like, how do we wrap this up? I just asking him, he was about to share something, and I want to give him the chance to bring this all together. For Paul, this is just really rewarding to listen to you.
Yeah, Francesca, it's been absolutely superb. As Neal was saying there, your passion and your enthusiasm is wonderful to behold. And it's I know you're the other side of the world for me and for Neal, but you can feel it generate. It's like electricity. It's wonderful. I think one of the most salient points that you made when you were talking about provide the tools, right? When you said make sure that people know where the washrooms are or the toilets are, right? That may seem such a small element of it, but it's vital, especially for a new employee, because if they're anything like me, they don't want to ask questions that they think they already know the answer to, right? So the fact that you've actually gone to that level of detail and said, look, just tell them where the washrooms are, just means that you live and breathe it and you're talking sense. So Francesca, it's been an absolute joy to have you on. I do have one question. So Disney refer to employees as cast members. Do they have a phrase for customers that isn't customers, or is it just a customer?
No, they are guests. Of course, they are our guest.
They are good. And there you go. Be our guest, Neal. Be my guest. I think that's a song, right? I think that's a song.
Yes. Be my guest, which is one of the things that I didn't say before. The Disney Institute, it's another of the CX hero that I have. It's not a person, it's an institute, but it's really the source of inspiration that I have, and the great book that I wrote, the Be My Guest book. It's really the ABC for everyone that wants to go into customer experience and employee experience. This is the key to begin with, I believe.
There we go. It is a great book. I've read it, Neal. I've read it. It's a brilliant book.
Super. So we're going to wrap up today's session. Once again, this was 4 tools to successful employee experience. Please buy the book Customer Experience 3. And when you do, there is a wealth of information, knowledge, stories, examples in the book. The chapter we just had the pleasure of discussing with Francesca is Disney Employee Experience, tangible examples of how to engage employees. Here's the best part. And why you should. Why you should. That's, I think, really separates this from just the rest of the people that are talking about employee experience. The why you should. Francesca, thanks so much for being a part of today. We're really grateful. Audience, a final request, as we like to do when we wrap this up, please rate and review our podcast, not just this session, which we encourage you to do, but all sessions. We'd love to get your feedback. Ratings and reviews are important for us. You can do so on Apple Podcasts. We want your feedback. We want to know what is important to you, what you don't like. And if you have ideas, if it's something you're in agreement, or better yet, if you're in disagreement, please share it. We want your feedback. Francesca, you have the final parting word for us and for our audience.
Well, thank you for having me, Neal and Paul. And for our audience, I would like to just say, be the magical sparkle that you want to spread the magic.
Spread the magic. No better way to finish up a podcast with that. Season 2, episode 13 on Fireside Chats Without the Fires, Francesca Tempestini. Thank you, audience. Thank you, Francesca. Neal and Paul signing off for today. We look forward to having you back for our next episode.
Thank you. Bye.